Now come to the other type of parsing, that is operator precedence parsing. A grammar is said to be operator precedence if it possesses the following properties. No production on the right side is epsilon. There should not be any production rule possessing two adjacent non-terminal at the right hand side. Now let's look what does this mean exactly is. Consider the grammar EAE. Now you see EAE. E is a non-terminal, A is a non-terminal, E is a non-terminal. EA has been extended, which gives you either plus or minus or asterisk or divide or the power symbol or the caret symbol. So here we have three non-terminal symbols EAE. So in such cases this is not an operator precedence grammar. An operator precedence grammar will always consider a non-terminal, a terminal, non-terminal, terminal, non-terminal, terminal, like that. It will go on like that. So this grammar can be changed. For example, this grammar, this A can be replaced by the individual symbols. So E derives E plus E, E derives E minus E, E derives E into E. So you can see the non-terminal, terminal, non-terminal, terminal, non-terminal, terminal, non-terminal. So this is a operator precedence grammar. So if you have an operator precedence grammar, then we can use parsing for it. Now how parsing is done is we have to define the relationships. There are three relationships which you can define. One is the less dot, one is the greater dot, and one is the equal dot symbol. So in this case the meaning will be P less dot Q. It means that P gives more precedence than Q. So that means P is having less precedence than Q, P has more precedence than Q, and P has same precedence as Q. This P gives less precedence than Q. This is less. So P gives less precedence than Q, P takes precedence over Q, P has the same precedence as Q. Now the meaning of this is, generally in computers we never follow the rule of BODMAS, which is used in arithmetic. We use what is called as a precedence. So that means what? If you have operators, for example, a plus and a divide, so the divide has to be done first and the plus has to be done next, or the division has to be done first and the addition has to be done next. So in that case we can say that the division has more precedence than the addition. Generally if you have a plus and a plus, they are at the same level. So generally we say plus has equal precedence to plus or minus. Minus and plus are the same precedence. If you do a calculation either with a plus first or a minus, the results remain the same. So let us see how we create the table for it. So if we create a operator precedence table, we can create operator precedence table like this. Let's take some terminals, ID, plus, asterisk and dollar. So we use the same thing in the other, either in the row or in the column. So we can say that ID has more precedence than plus, ID has more precedence than asterisk, ID has more precedence than dollar, plus has less precedence than ID, plus has more precedence than greater plus has less precedence than asterisk. So in this way we can create the table. Now once the table is created, then we can always parse it. It becomes very simple for parsing. So let us just see an example on it. ID plus ID into ID. First of all, what we do is we add a dollar in the beginning and add a dollar in the last. So this is how it is done, and then we put it according to the operator precedence table. Dollar has less precedence than ID, ID has more precedence than plus. If you look at the table, you can see that dollar has less precedence than ID. So let us look at the table. Dollar has less precedence than ID. Repeat the same process. ID has more precedence than plus, plus has less precedence than ID, and so forth. Now once we do this, then we can just see the angle bracket. It is opening here, it is closing here, it is opening here, it is closing here. So the thing which is in bracket has to be processed first. So in this case id is the handle, so id is the handle, so this has to be processed first, so that id will change to e. So that is how it's done. Repeat the same process, this id is changing to e, then finally this id is changing to e, so you get e plus e into e. Now you take out the non-terminals and write only the operators plus and asterisk. Again repeat the same process, add a dollar in the beginning, add a dollar at the end. Again we rewrite it as dollar is less, has less precedence than plus, has less precedence than asterisk, has more precedence than asterisk. So if you look at this again, you can see that this angle bracket is here, there's a closing opening bracket here, there's a closing bracket here, so asterisk has to be done first. So that means what? When we say asterisk means we have to do e into e first. That's the meaning of that. So when we do e into e first, then we reduce this, we remove this, and then we are left with only plus. Again we are left with dollar less plus greater dollar. So the final thing is the plus is to be processed, so we process e plus e, and finally once it's processed we get dollar dollar, that means parsing is done. This is how operator precedence parsing works.